This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
And welcome to, now that we've done this for a few seconds here, welcome to Saturday Morning Mysteries. I am one host, Alexis.
Hi, I'm the other host. I'm Grace.
Hello.
What's up?
And yeah, we're back. We are back to tell more Toon Tales from the crypt of Scooby-Doo. And
yep, we're still on Scooby.
We've got a couple more episodes focusing on Mystery Inc. and our favorite detective dog. And then we're going to switch it up going forward, looking at other shows to tackle, other investigations to retell. And so be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned last episode, if you have other show ideas, shoot us an email, SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com. Hopefully by this point, by the point in which this episode is getting published, we've also had a couple Toon tangents, our little bonus, just tangents about tunes. That's why we call it Toon tangents. Have been released. So if you have things that you want us to just kind of shoot the shit on as well, email those over too, or leave a comment or something. Great. So I've got an
You're
episode
telling
to
a
tell
story
you
today. Yeah. So I went last week and boom.
Yes.
Now it's you.
Now we're back to me.
Yes.
So my last episode, which was 2 weeks ago, I went modern with it, but I promised I was going to come back to the OG Scooby-Doo. Where are you?
Okay.
That's what I have done this week. And so we're gonna backtrack. I'm gonna I'll get into obviously like the season, episode, title, all of that stuff. But we're gonna start really broad before we even get into the episode today, because this requires some background discussion.
Okay. As usual with Scooby-Doo, they like to tie in some real interesting history in there.
Yeah, exactly. In this, I will say that our episode just kind of brushes on it, but I thought it's a topic of interest for both of us. And I thought, it required to get into it a little bit because it's pretty integral to the actual crime. So I will say, we've brushed on this a little bit here and there, but we haven't explicitly named this. The look of confusion on your faces.
It's half confusion, half excitement. I'm like,
okay, great.
I'm trying to guess where you're going with this, but I don't know where you're going. It's a rare occasion where I can't read your mind. I don't know what's going to happen.
Truly.
I'm very excited. It's more excitement than confusion.
Okay, great. I'll take either. So I will in a moment pause for your literal professional opinion, not just like a haha funny professional opinion, but using that phrase lightly, but a literal professional opinion that we will get from a lawyer.
Oh boy.
With the asterisk,
I'm going to preface this is not legal advice.
Yes,
nothing that I say, and this goes for every video. I'm not your lawyer. Nope. I'm not Grace's lawyer. I'm not even my own lawyer.
Nope.
I am never giving legal advice.
Yep.
I am literally just joking. Everything I say is, do not take anything that I say seriously. Yes. Do not follow my advice unless it sounds actually kind of good. But even in that case,
legal based,
get an actual lawyer.
Yes.
Do not call me. You cannot call me to give you legal advice.
None of that. None of it.
So this is just me wildly speculating on how funny things in real and fictional worlds can be.
Yes,
and maybe tying in a few words that I heard one of my professors in law school say at some point.
Exactly. And I figured, we had mentioned in the past that you're a lawyer, and thus my comfort in which calling you out on this.
Exactly. I do not mind telling the world that I am a lawyer. I worked hard for that shit. All right.
Exactly.
But I'm
proud
no
of her people.
I'm
not your freaking lawyer. But we'll start with my unprofessional opinion, and start with actually a existential question that I remember being posed at the beginning of an international law class that I took once. The professor, and this is in undergrad, I am not a lawyer, but the professor began the class by asking us, does international law even exist? So the core of this question lies in the fact that there's no international jurisdiction to implement and uphold international law. There's United Nations treaties, sure, and there's generally agreed upon rules, but enforcement, it's a really gray area. And if the parties intend something to be legally binding, then is it still legally binding if there's no enforcement mechanism? It's more so general consent is what happens in international law and my understanding of it. But that doesn't necessarily make it a law in the traditional sense that we think of as United States law. And, even more so on the international scale, if a country doesn't sign on to it, then it's even more so not a full law. If they sign on to something, but they don't create a law in their own country around it, then again, is this a law or not? Especially, to the signed parties, how they implement it, how they see it versus unsigned parties. So I'd like to get briefly, I know you're not an international lawyer, Alexis, but I'd like to get your quick take on this before I continue.
Well, funny you mentioned that. Let me grab my international law book.
Don't knock down your book
right here. I know, right on emergency situation. Yes, there is an international law book up there, though. I did also. Right. I took a course. Well, I guess you could call it a course. That's funny. I hope some of my classmates from that class are listening because they'll understand me saying that. No, so yeah, I pretty much agree with a lot of what you said there. So there, I would say if we're looking at the United States in particular with the way our courts view international law. Yeah. And again, I'm not an international lawyer. This is just from taking a class and just kind of keeping up with news about this stuff, but not even really. But if we're looking at the way that American courts, particularly federal courts, look at international law, they have definitely used norms as a guidance of what we can do in America. So they've looked at both, right? Sometimes there are treaties that actually set out, legal guidelines on what countries can do or what individuals can and can't do within other countries. But then there are also just laws that other countries individually have on the books. So for example, in a capital punishment case here in America, a death sentence or death penalty, whatever case, the Supreme Court used principles of international law in the sense they looked at other countries and decided, well, can you kill a minor under the death penalty in France? Can you do it in the United Kingdom? Can you do it in this country and that country? No. So you can't do it here either. But then you have, on the other hand, treaties through the UN. We've talked about that kind of briefly here before, UNESCO, for example, or the World Intellectual Property Organization. They set treaties for licensing IP rights among countries. What you were mentioning with sometimes if a country doesn't sign on to it, some treaties have to be self-executing. So if a treaty is self-executing, then as soon as the parliamentary body of a country, the legislator or the legislative body or the parliament signs on or agrees with it, as soon as the president does, a self-executing treaty will automatically become law pretty much in that country. Okay. But if it's not self-executing, then it gets to what you were saying, where Congress will need to write some sort of bill to then implement it. So if Congress doesn't do that and it requires that, then it's just paper. Doesn't mean anything. So yeah, there's different ways on how, yes, there is international law. What is there? But it really, as we're seeing actually in the news, right now, international
at the time
law,
of this recording.
At the time of this recording, right? Yeah. It's late February. So looking in the future, if you think back at what was going on in the world in late February, and hopefully is no longer going on by the time that we publish this, but who knows? International law is really only as strong as, the bodies that enforce it or that are willing to actually uphold it. Yeah. So a lot of it really is kind of like handshake agreements, and you hope that you don't have autocrats in power who don't care about it.
Handshake.
Yeah, pretty much. So.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you for that take. I do want to briefly side note. It sounds like whatever your actual international law class in law school was a journey. Mine in undergrad was extremely fun. And my culmination of, and I think primarily because the professor was great, but he was also a huge fucking nerd like myself. And our like final paper, which I have pulled up on the side, was literally, he gave us a scenario in which essentially different characters from Lord of the Rings are seeking like international like satisfaction due to like the different like dramas and traumas that happened and like on this international scale. And so I wrote like a 10-page paper about
awesome.
Whether or not the Sauron, Dark Lord Sauron, who's Mordor's head of state, if you could bring different cases against him due to different circumstances within Lord of the Rings. So it was a pretty amazing class due to said scenario.
It sounds like it was perhaps more effective.
Yes. Also, clearly class. Undergrad versus the actual law school course.
Yeah, true. It's like that sounds a lot more fun than like learn. I mean, okay, I'm not gonna like I do like reading Supreme Court stuff, but I would much rather read about like that kind of stuff or write about that stuff than write about like, oh, the Supreme Court looks at intellectual property treaties this way.
Yep. Versus like I got to use what I learned in international law and like wildly speculate essentially for a class.
Made it fun.
Yep, exactly. Great. Well, today we will be obviously dealing with some international law that specifically, and I hope everyone is ready for me to butcher trying to say these words in Latin. Yes. Okay. We'll be dealing specifically today with mare librium and then separately, Hotus Humanae Generius. Also, do you know what that means?
No, son.
Okay, great. No. I thought you were about to like tell me, and I was about to be like, wow,
a couple of those words kind of sound familiar.
Nope.
Latin is used a lot in law books, but no, I'm like,
it's dead language for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, this is also known as freedom of the seas and the enemy of all kind, which in non-weird Latin legal speak, but as defined by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, today we're talking about piracy on the high seas.
Oh my.
Yep. So according to this widely accepted, although not universally ratified, so again, is it real? Yes, let's not think too much about it. Convention, high seas piracy is a very narrow definition. According to law.com, a crime of piracy in the international waters requires, so you have to hit these requirements in order to be considered piracy on the high seas. Quote, 1, a privately motivated act of violence. 2, committed upon the high seas or otherwise in a place outside the jurisdiction of any state. Or 3, launched from one ship against another ship, which is called the 2-ship requirement. Also, of note is that anything like these categories, this note about universal jurisdiction and being outside of a jurisdiction of any state meaning any like country, not just like United States and different treaties.
A sovereign region.
Sovereign entity or nation. And universal jurisdiction means that it's an area in which no state has direct jurisdiction in, but they can technically arrest and commence proceedings on some of these against a pirate specifically, no matter where the person in this universal area, kind of like no man's land, is from. And who the harm is done to. So if you're on the high seas, my understanding is that, like if act of piracy was committed on the high seas against a Brit by an American, someone from France could take and address this scenario. So basically, it's like no one owns these waters. And so it gets complicated quickly, I would say.
Yes.
End of note is that if an act of piracy doesn't occur on those international waters, which again, no nation owns, But if it's within someone's jurisdiction, then obviously the state's definition of piracy applies, which can deviate from that UN convention. So like we were just saying, like Congress can pass their own here in the US, like definition of things. And so, we can have our own definition of piracy in the United States that doesn't have to exactly follow the UN convention. And according to statistia.com, some other statistics, Jesus Christ, website, in 2019, there were 162 ships attacked by pirates, 195 in 2020. But contemporary piracy, many experts say, reached a peak in 2010, where there were about 445 pirate attacks.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So piracy is still a thing today.
Alive and well.
It's alive and well. It's maybe, suffering a little bit, it tried to pick back up in 2020.
Yeah.
Not sure how it's going in the last couple of years due to COVID-19, the pandemic.
And all the shipping woes and whatnot around the world.
Like, actually, it seems like maybe a great time to be a pirate.
That could probably be part of the cause. I know there's a lot of causes for all those supply chain things that were going on, but pirates, are they back in action? Yeah, not our legal advice to become a pirate. That was not at all. Most of them get arrested. There's a reason why numbers are declining.
Exactly. Just because it's like, no man's land of law doesn't mean that there aren't entities out there trying to enforce various laws. So, keep that in mind if you decide to drop everything and change your career path. Or if you're a pirate listening to this, email us. Let us know what it's like to be a pirate.
What's it like?
We need some evidence,
testimony.
That you are a pirate. We're not just going to assume everyone who writes us is. But SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com if you are an active pirate.
We're going to have like the FBI monitoring, like the CIA monitoring our email.
Perfect. Great.
Oh, God. That's exactly what we want.
So what does that have to do with Scooby-Doo?
Yes.
You may be asking yourself. You might be forgetting that that's why we're here today.
I'm loving the pirate talk. But
okay, great.
Wait a minute.
Yes. Well, season 1, episode 14 of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? From 1969, entitled Go Away, Ghost Ship, is all about pirates. Okay. And our key investigative team, Mystery Inc., takes vague international law, as we've just previously discussed, into their own hands to solve today's mystery. So let's get into it.
If courts can't interpret it, then hey, maybe Mystery Inc. can.
Yep, they're on it, baby. I mean, Daphne is related to some high-powered lawyers, I'm sure. So she's probably going to grow up and become a lawyer. She's double-checked all of this stuff. So we start with a peek of one of the multiple crimes that have been happening on the high seas just off the shore of Coolsville, because I guess Coolsville is a sea town also. Again, going into the theory, potentially, are they, coast Texas or Florida? I mean, they were just visiting in our last episode. Hokey Finokey on Georgia-Florida border.
Road trips to Mexico. So who knows?
A lot of speculation here, as usual. And I don't actually know, I guess, if they technically are in Coolsville, but I'm assuming they are because they go to their favorite malt shop that they're always frequenting. They seem to know the town well. It seems like, they're in town. But yes, before we meet these international unofficial representatives of Mystery Inc., we meet a man who simply goes by the Captain. And he doesn't really need more of a name because he's the perfect picture of a high seas captain. He's got, his little like steamboat hat thing. He's got a pretty sharp suit on. He's got like just a bit of gnarled grit and a deep respect for the sea. And yes,
weathered look.
Exactly. He's got like kind of like the sharp cheekbones and the scruff going on. And he might even have the full captain's beard. And he is the captain of this ship, kind of like this freight ship. So like shipping containers, actually.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So timely that you
perfect for piracy. Yeah. Right.
For piracy. So even though this has happened to recent ships before him, he keeps on going ahead. And what this thing is that unexpected fog suddenly overtakes ships. And on this very night, it's a clear night for the captain, and yet soon a thick fog suddenly rolls in seemingly from the horizon out of nowhere.
Ooh.
So all we see next is another ship appearing on the other side of the fog. And this other ship, as you can expect from our discussion so far, is a quintessential pirate ship.
Oh boy.
Straight out of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Like wood,
yes,
black mass. Okay.
Yes.
Among like cargo, like freight ship.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So a very important note is this is straight up, it looks like it could be out of, again, Pirates of the Caribbean. This ship has not been updated since the 1600s type of thing. Against, this modern technology freight ship boat.
Coming through the fog.
Yeah, exactly. And of note, this ship, has the Jolly Rogers flying high, which is, the skull and crossbones. Also, for everyone listening, sorry about my dogs barking in the background. We're not going to be able to edit that shit out. They're just losing their minds right now downstairs.
They're just telling you all how much they love you and how they hope that you're enjoying this podcast, but they don't realize that you're trying to listen to it. So,
they don't understand what a podcast is.
They're good boys.
They have a lot to say. They're very good boys.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, so according to my 5-second Google search, the Jolly Rogers, again, the skull and crossbones flag, was only meant to be flown on a pirate ship when they were about to attack.
So that was like a battle flag.
Yeah, it was like a warning signal of if you see a pirate ship and it's not up, they're just going to keep going. But if they put it up, run. Good luck. Yeah. Or it's already too late,
steer.
Probably.
Not run. You're on water.
Steer or run.
Paddle away.
Probably going to die. Anyways.
Yeah. There is escape.
And I bet that the Jolly Rogers flag has a super cool history. But I didn't keep reading. I just read the the Wikipedia preview of what the article was about, in which it told me that, and then I moved on. But
that is enough for us here.
Yes, today. I said that's good. Look at all this work about international law I've already thought about.
Fair enough. That's the more important angle.
Yes,
anyway.
Exactly. So on the ship, it's got the Jolly Rogers flag up high. It has cannons. It has worn, sea-weathered wood. It's got huge, large sails that are a little tattered. Everything. But most quintessentially, on the deck of the ship is a man with I must say, a very fabulous bright pink suit. He is glowing in his fluorescent pirate outfit.
What?
Yes, he's a fashion pirate, I would say.
This is a party pirate ship.
Yes, this is
you see disco lights.
Coming down.
Everyone's wearing pimp suits.
Yeah, that's basically what this is. This is a pirate pimp outfit going on right now. But he does, though, somewhat clashingly, I will say, have a huge red beard, luscious red hair. I guess the salt water has done wonders to the hair. He does have the black Treasure Island pirate hat on, also the Jolly Rogers on it. So classic.
Black and pink go very well together.
Yes. Yep, nice. Exactly. Yeah. So he brought it back together. He couldn't do anything about his beard. He loved pink. Doesn't always clash. It's a lot right now, but so he's standing there, and as his name implies, he's cackling, as villains are wont to do in this show. And we flash back to our captain, the captain, who exclaims,
the captain.
Oh, captain.
Captain, my captain.
The captain.
The
yes,
captain.
Exactly. And he exclaims, disco lights come down on the French ship as well. And so the captain exclaims that this is the Ghost of Redbeard.
Hence the red beard.
Hence the red beard. So once again, we don't actually fully see what transpires next. Presumably, this freight ship was not well manned, or at least not well prepared for a pirate attack, which does seem strange because there recently were pirate attacks in these waters. Again, not the first one in recent days, but either way, the Ghost of Redbeard and his crew somehow pull up next to this ship, board it, overtake the captain and his men, and they steal all of the goods from this freight ship. Yes, very impressive. Like this little dinky wooden boat able to do this against like this enormous freight ship. Yeah.
And
but
just by passing it, like, do you actually see the pirates all get on the ship, or do you just
don't? So we just see like the two flashes through the fog. But we do learn shortly that that freight ship with the captain like was fully attacked, and all of the goods were stolen. So we can only kind of speculate. Again, they had cannons on the ship. We don't know, or on the pirate ship there were cannons. We don't know the state of the freight ship after this attack. All we know is that like they got basically. They got by this pirate. So how does the gang learn about this? Through, of course, the evening newspaper that runs in Coolsville.
They always have a paper on them.
Always. This is like, Coolsville was like the pioneers of what is now Twitter, of like the constant news feed, apparently. They are churning out papers.
And the teens are with it. They are always on top of what's going on. Around town and around the world, apparently.
Yes, due to said paper. So the Coolsville malt shop, almost everyone actually is reading a newspaper, very intellectual of them. And they spot this article where the captain, who was eventually rescued, came back to shore. So he was not murdered by the pirates, which is a good thing.
That's good.
Not always the case. I think he probably was like, these goods are not worth my life. Like, take what the fuck you want. Like, I've been through World War II and now this shit, like, I don't think so.
I'm not going to get killed by some ghost pirates.
Not today.
No, that's not how I'm going out.
Yep. So in the Coolsville newspaper article, the captain explains, kind of goes into a little more what happens. And we get a quote from the owner of the freight company, C.L. Magnus, who is being, I will say, a very supportive employer. Like, he's not saying like, no, like my captain is making up ghost pirates and fog. He is fully blaming the attack on the Ghost of Redbeard, saying we need more security out there. Basically, like, these high seas are not safe. Like, this is not my first ship that's been attacked. Like, we're just trying to get these goods through. We're just trying to do our job. And like, we need to amp up the security. And essentially, like, the captain knows his shit. I fully believe him and trust him. So again, good. Not all employers are like that. So Ever, the savvy businesswoman with her finger all on the pulse, Daphne explains that Magnus' company, she does. And she knows and explains to the group that Magnus's company is actually teetering on bankruptcy and going out of business. So kind of similar actually to your last episode of like family-run business on the brink of destruction, essentially.
Mystery Inc. Sorry, quick interruption here.
They support small business.
Exactly. We solve mysteries. We investigate. We do small business restoration.
Yes.
Here's our card.
We do it all, baby. Here's our card.
Let's put on our consultant hats and figure out how we can save your business.
Right, exactly. Because clearly you need the saving.
Yes.
So she explains, that Magnus's freight shipping container business is on the brink of bankruptcy. And the gang, full of sympathy about the recent pirate afflictions, decide, they should. And I guess the fact that they have the sympathy for the small failing business, they decide they should offer their services to CL Magnus. So how did they offer these services? Did they write him a letter? Did they find his number in the phone book and call him? Did they ask
too normal
Daphne's parents, who probably are business connection to Magnus somehow, drop into his offices during business hours? No. The well-connected Daphne just so happened to know where he lived, and they knew their services cannot wait. Daphne is an insider of all of the happenings of Coolsville. This bitch knows.
He's probably, if he, is the owner of this large freight shipping company, I'm sure that, yes, like you said, he rubs elbows with the rich and the wealthy and the powerful.
Exactly.
And, maybe she's been to a holiday party at his house or something. Or maybe they're on the Christmas card list.
Probably.
from his family.
Yeah,
Somehow.
I mean,
we're going to assume it's not creepy at all that she knows this dude's address.
We're going to assume it's not.
Yes.
I like that idea. I think that, based on the fact that it's now a failing business, that it's just the Christmas card list. They don't go to his Christmas parties anymore. They just get his card still, and sometimes every other year they'll send him one if they remember. Their services they knew couldn't wait, which in a way is good business. Mr. Inc. knows there could be a competing detective service out there, like local cops, and they wanted to get out ahead of this.
Competitors.
Yeah, exactly.
Legal authorities.
Yes. Including and especially because I think we can operate under the assumption that this is indeed piracy on the high seas, that the FBI or the UN would step in, and Mystery Inc. knows that is too many cooks in the kitchen. We got to get at this first, They
like to keep a tight investigation. They don't,
they don't share the information with other investigators. And because it's on the high seas, anyone could come up and start taking control of this investigation. True. There are no rules. It's like a first come, first serve situation. So they gonna be there first. So the gang rolls up to Magnus's building. That, speaking of other episodes, could have very well been one of the buildings in your high-rise hair raiser Ebenezer Crab episode, because he lives on the top floor, the penthouse of this fancy ass building.
Happens to have Jim Rivets and Red Sparks as neighbors.
They could have been.
Maybe.
They could have been.
His was one of the safes that was burglarized.
Probably. That's probably why his business is failing now. And we know he's in the penthouse because on the outside of his door is a golden plate that says CL Magnus Penthouse. I will pause to give the gang credit that they don't just like bust into his apartment, as we know they love to do. They love breaking and entering, trespassing. But they know this is like way too nice of a place to pull this shit. Daphne is probably like, not today, peasants.
This guy actually probably has money to sue us.
Yeah, exactly. And my lawyers will cover me, but not your poor asses.
So,
yeah. To the door comes a man like straight out of the Addams family. We also only hear him referred to as the Butler. I think, again, this is a Richie Rich episode, only like the rich people have names. All of like everyone who works for them are just like the butler, the captain, even though the captain like is traumatized. Anyways, the Butler is this like, it's this strange mixture of he's like at the same time like 7 feet tall, but also like slightly hunched back situation. He's like a skeleton.
So he would be like 8 feet tall if he stood up straight.
Yeah, if he stood up straight, he'd have like, I don't know, some hunch going on. But yeah, definitely looks like Fester or someone out of that Addams family. Okay. Yep. But yeah, his face, man, I gotta say, I hate to just be like, this man is so ugly and crazy looking, but like it is droopy and full of wrinkles and just like gaunt. Yeah, he's got like bags under his eyes and like creaks open the door. So he's just like all elements of creepy, essentially.
He's been through it.
Yeah, he's been through some shit lately, it seems like. And he immediately, he opens the door and like you can again see it in his eyes of like, why the fuck's sake are these children at my door? And then it's probably like, oh, Miss Blake is here. But he does.
I have to let them in.
Yeah, they immediately are like, well, we're here to see CL Magnus. And he very politely, I will say, points out that it is 11 at night. He literally says,
ask what time it is.
Yes,
he's like, why are they here late at night?
Yeah. So where are their parents? We don't know. He probably looks like shit because he was just woken up out of bed. Type of thing to answer this door. We're being
wrongfully judgmental.
Yes, exactly. I need to throw that out there. So he declines the help right now. He's like, it's 11 at night. Y'all need to go home. He's probably like, Daphne, I'm about to call your butler and like have him
your chauffeur.
Get a car to come pick you up. So they go home. Just kidding. No, they don't. They are so deeply offended that they were turned away. So quickly they slip on somehow very bad disguises to look like room service or like the maid service of this apartment complex. And they burst back, like they bust into the apartment. Like there's like a full, like, you know, like room service, like cart that they just like tear down the door. I'm pretty sure they roll over the butler, perhaps even.
Oh my gosh.
Who is clearly like, this, what the hell is going on with this?
I'm calling the fucking police.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're committing a crime and I am going to take care of it. That is my job.
Yes.
But Magnus, luckily, is still up. He's sitting by the fireplace, enjoying, presumably, you know, a glass of scotch, and he's got like the fancy, like velvet robe on.
Yes,
and again, presumably, I would assume that most likely he would also be like, let's call the cops, but sees Daphne, says, oh, the young Miss Blake. I can't just turn her family away. They control all of the money in Coolsville, and I am strapped for cash. Let's see what she wants. So he does, you know, offer the teens a seat and is open to hearing why they want to help out with this investigation. But Butler is just seething in the corner over this entire situation. Magnus, for his part, is kind of just like a nondescript rich white dude. Again, full robe in the fire, kind of balding, healthily plump for a life lived comfortably.
Yes. Lots of steak and lobster consumed.
Yes, exactly. And he's pretty clearly actually desperate. FBI is maybe not done too much yet. UN is like, we have much bigger fish to fry than your couple acts of piracy that happened on your ship. And so Magnus is not getting any help. So he immediately actually opens up to the teens, who, by the way, like I've realized and noticed, they don't take any notes when they're hearing about like what's happening.
You're right.
They just like hear about it. They just like stand up and nod and are like, okay, we got it. Thanks. Bye. Which maybe like they're young. And so they have better memory, like I don't know, short-term retention or something, but like,
yeah, we know Shaggy probably has some issues with that, with his hobbies.
Habits. Yeah. So that's just a little thing I noticed in this episode.
Yeah. Good point. So, good point.
Yeah, maybe I guess impressive more than anything. So
true.
Yeah,
they're young. Their
got
brain
it.
cells are still
still developing. So the attacks on his freight ships, because again there have been more than one. He explains and sees it as an act of revenge, actually, by the Ghost of Redbeard.
Ooh, okay.
And he
Bold
knows.
Claim.
Yep, and it's coming out strong. And again, he knows this is the Ghost of Redbeard because the captain is the one who saw it with his own eyes. So due to the amount of wealth that Magnus still has, I kind of assume that like his family 300 years ago must have been like further naval captains at the time, you know, magistrates, like general law enforcement, and like businessmen of the early arrival of England to the United States and such.
The old establishment.
Yes, we won't get into all of that, but his family, his ancestors hunted down Redbeard and his crew and brought them all to justice with their own hands. I assume probably a pretty violent justice because that's how it went back then. Again, we've all seen Pirates of the Caribbean when like Jack Sparrow's like pulling into the port and there's just like pirates hanging everywhere. So I have to assume it was equally dark. But just before, the chop or whatever came down on Redbeard, he vowed revenge on Magnus's entire family.
Oh, no.
Yep, a revenge that Magnus believes he is now getting incited on him.
We have learned many times from this show that you do not want revenge to be laid on you and people you care about from old ancient figures. It will come back to haunt you in the future.
Yep, maybe like call your grandparents and that type of stuff just to like check if there's been any curses on your family that you should be aware
anything
of.
like that, like locusts just randomly appearing in their house.
Like double check that they didn't piss anyone off who
ancient
would have
gods
the power
or ancient
to do this.
Exactly. No spirits, no evil demons, whatever. Anyway.
Yep.
Yes.
And the butler throughout this entire like exposition is either unmoved by the tale because he's heard it before, or he's simply like festering this intrusion of privacy, which makes sense.
Why are they here? Why did you let these kids in? They're clearly trespassing.
Get them the fuck out of here. Fred, however, has heard enough. He lets Magnus know, like, we've got this in the bag. We're going to head out right now and put an end to this. No contract was signed, but I guess, since it's on the high seas, every part of this operation will remain lawless.
All handshake deals.
Yep, exactly. Which, again, is the gang style either way. So it makes sense. So I broke this down kind of step by step of how we're going to go through, how we're going to solve this act of piracy. So step 1, hit the seas, because how do you catch a pirate if you don't get out to the water? You don't. Yeah. So the gang hops on like this tiny wooden speedboat. Just has like an engine on the back, and they zip out to sea. Fred at the helm, because this is all his plan. They got presumably from Magnus the schedule of the freight ships, or maybe Magnus like had his butler go fetch it for him, or from the captain. Either way, they know the schedule of the freight ships. They got the intel from the company.
Daphne's like taking pictures to send to their competitors, like, by the way. Or like her parents are like trying to open a shipping company.
100%. Yeah.
Like this is actually a major ruse by the Blake family to like get all of.
That's why Daphne's involved in Mystery Inc. to begin with. She's
just a corporate spy.
Yeah, exactly, but a very good one apparently. Yes,
she now has this. She has the Finoki Fizz formula. Sorry, from my last
episode. Oh yeah, and
she got
the cookie cola recipes. She took both of them down, baby.
Dude, this is how Blake Incorporated gets so big. They just steal information from other companies
constantly.
All right.
Yes, they know how this world works. Probably since, again, 300 years ago as well, they were probably rolling it then. So they also know, the gang also knows from, speaking with the captain and Magnus, that the pirate ship only appears after that thick ghostly fog rolls across the water. So as they're out on the water, the gang, they see the freight ship. Okay, great. It's on schedule. And they see the fog start to form. And so this is when Fred enacts his plan. So they speed directly towards the fog, which is now in the opposite direction of the freight ship. And they blow a foghorn as a decoy. They're hoping that the fog is thick enough that it'll block the vision of the skilled pirates from seeing the enormous freight ship and a tiny little like schooner ship or whatever. I don't know ships so well.
Fog tests even the most weathered pirates or sailors.
Exactly. If the fog is thick enough and there's a foghorn so you can hear it either way. Mm-hmm. So there's that. I do want to note that it's, the classic, like the animators needed to show how thick the fog was. And so to do this, they gave Scooby-Doo a knife. Like we straight up just see him like, cut through the fog, which I get like so thick you can cut it with a knife, but literally it like pauses and Scooby just like has a knife in his hand, which like, I think I interpret this as Scooby knows the high seas aren't a place to fuck around. Like
he's ready.
He knows this is lawless.
He came strapped.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be one of those things that's like Scooby-Doo out of context. They just like put a picture of him holding a knife. Like, whoa, what is he about to do?
Yeah, maybe I'll put that up on our social medias at Satmore Mist. Follow us. You'll see a Scooby with
Twitter,
the knife.
Instagram. Yes.
Yep. So this plan obviously seems a little silly, but by golly, it works. But as it goes sometimes it works too well because the pirate ship turns towards them. And it starts to head towards them. And it starts to head towards them full speed ahead, like not pausing at all. So the gang obviously starts to panic about this. And in the panic, the engine on the speedboat breaks off entirely. So they have no motorized way to get away. So Shaggy
stuck in the middle of the ocean.
Stuck in the middle of the international waters in the ocean with a giant full-size pirate ship speeding towards them at full speed.
Shaggy who clearly and Velma, is angry with them.
Yes, Shaggy and Velma are like trying to paddle with their hands. They trying to get out of the path of the pirate ship. They can't. It's coming in too fast, and then, bam! The pirate ship rams directly into them and cracks the speedboat in half.
No.
Yep. I don't know how you feel about the ocean. Seems not well.
You know how I feel about the ocean. You know what one of my biggest fears is.
Yes.
No, yes. I would not. No. Next thing you know, a giant whale is next to you and it's the end of the world. I'm not saying I would never do it, but it would take a lot of pep talking and like slapping me out of crying and everything. Like the whales won't hurt you.
They can't
Except
get you
for the killer
here.
whales, but they're not here.
Which
Anyway,
aren't actually whales, by the way.
Yeah. Aren't they like
They're,
a type of shark or something?
Technically, they are a type of dolphin.
Okay.
Yes.
That's right.
So that makes them a little friendlier, maybe. Probably not to you. Anyways, probably not to most people.
When they don't sense blood. But yes.
Anyway, step 2 in solving this crime spree is now to board the ship, because they're all in the middle of the ocean with nowhere else to go. And I assume that was like probably their plan in the first place, was to board the ship, because otherwise they were just gonna like blow the foghorn a bunch and then like ask Redbeard to just like stop pirating ships. It's unclear. Either way, they get onto this ship. And luckily the gang, and they're actually split on like each side of the ship. Like they're not all together, which is also terrifying, I will say.
Yeah.
But luckily the gang is young and in shape to the point that they're able to scale the sides of the ship, which is very impressive. Like as someone who does climb, like how the fuck would you scale the side of a wooden? Yeah, I don't know, but it's very impressive. Yeah,
you see them like climbing up in the middle of the darkness.
Yeah. It's not a lit up ship; it's a dark ass pirate ship. So Shaggy and Scooby go on one side. They actually climb through some windows. Fred, Velma, and Daphne go up onto the actual deck. So, anyways, step 2, check on the ship. Step 3, search for clues, as per usual.
Okay.
So we're going to start with the kind of failed side of things on the search for clues. There's no one,
failures abound with them.
Exactly. So as you can maybe assume, that side is with Shaggy and Scooby. They just so happened to have tumbled into Redbeard's actual cabin when they boarded the ship. And it seems peaceful enough and like kind of undisturbed, which I mean, like, I guess if he's a ghost, that makes sense. And they continue their search. They're kind of just like rifling through his shit until from a portrait of Redbeard hanging up in his own room, a straight up sword like flies out of it and starts to chase them down. Like it is just flying through the air, actively like slicing and like stabbing towards them.
A ghost sword, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So I was gonna say there's there's no Redbeard with it. And I guess this is a clue, but just kind of, I guess, confirming that like some ghostly shit is going down. So obviously, they like run away. The sword gets caught in a door. They book it out of there. But the problem and like failure aspect of this is that they run directly into the Ghost of Redbeard. And he's
like, oh, thanks for bringing me my sword.
Yeah, I was looking for this. I left in my room again.
Now I can kill you for real.
Yeah, and now I will really stab you. And they run into Redbeard and 2 other pirates who look like they just got off of like Captain Hook's boat from Peter Pan, like the animated version. They're like huge, like gruff looking dudes, but they're wearing like cut off shorts and like striped shirts and bandanas and like a bunch of different colors. Honestly, the 3 of them together look like the Village People's interpretation of pirates. Like it is very fabulous. It is very flamboyant and colorful, and like would hang out with them.
The strip club version of pirate outfits.
Yeah, exactly. Like
high cut off shorts.
Yeah, they got the jorts on.
Booty pirate shorts.
Yeah, exactly. Like straight from 70s disco era type of thing. And I mean, kind of smartly without a fight, they get captured. But again, like kind of darkly, we've noticed there's a lot of like little dark things within Scooby-Doo overall. Redbeard, as he's saying, like if they basically like if you don't pull your weight on the ship or find a good reason for me to keep you, and he does the like, thumb across the neck or like finger across the neck, basically saying like I will slit your throat unless like you prove your worth. And that, my friend, is how Shaggy and Scooby end up in the galley, aka kitchen of the ship, cooking for the ghost pirates.
Oh, okay.
Yes. That was their contribution.
Gig. Yeah, they're like, okay, what's one thing we can do that will show we are not worthless?
Yep, literally Shaggy's like, we can cook. And they were like, great, get in there. So while they're cooking for their lives, which sounds like a very fun
cooking for their lives.
Like great cooking show for Food Network. Oh no.
Cook for your lives.
That too, but like a cooking show in which they literally have to cook for their lives or else like they're gonna die or something.
Ramsay will kill them.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I could see that show being like Gordon Ramsay, like Guy Fieri and like, I don't know, Bobby Flay or something like that.
Sorry, random. You mentioned Guy Fieri, so I got to say it. He was just in Cincinnati a couple days ago doing more episodes. Yeah, of Triple D. He loves Cincinnati. Yeah,
yes,
he loves
amazing.
it there. So a little hometown shout out. And now we have another reason to love Guy Fieri. Anyway, yes. So he would totally be a judge on this show.
Yep, I would love it. And like every time, like, I don't know, like Gordon Ramsay would like whoever was about to be eliminated, like turn like the full power of like the sun onto them to burn them alive. Guy would just like turn his sunglasses from the back of his head onto his front head so he doesn't get blinded. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, while they're cooking for their lives, Velma, Daphne, and Fred have scanned the whole top deck and they've found nothing and no one. I don't know how the ship is being steered, I guess by ghostly powers or something. Yeah. But overall, they're like very unimpressed. Like Velma, Fred, and Daphne are literally like joking about the situation. They're like, this is a joke. This is some mix up. Like, this is like, they're laughing as they like start to like walk down into like a lower deck. But like, just as they're doing that, they actually see Redbeard walking kind of on the other side of some cargo. And so they immediately jump and hide and are like, oh shit. This got real. Them. Yeah, he did not see him. This got real.
Not a joke anymore.
Yep.
Laughing stops. We
just a pin drop type of thing. But when they obviously somewhat smartly and maybe stupidly are like, okay, well, obviously that's our target. But they try it. They pop back out and they try and find him, and Redbeard is nowhere to be found. But luckily, this attempt to track down Redbeard again leads them to their actual first solid clue. Oh. So, they find themselves in one of the cabins, and there's these huge, like, I don't know, it looks like it was like would have been from like a wine barrel or like cask or something that have been like,
what is up with all the barrels
cut in half? Barrels are a classic trope. They can do everything. You can trip over them, you can put people in them, or you can shatter them with dry ice, which is the case in this scenario. I'm pretty sure Velma or someone, I'm for sure it's Velma's like, don't touch that, like it's dry ice, like it'll burn your hands type of thing.
She instantly knew.
Yeah, exactly. Which it will do. Fun fact. Dry ice, a great tool for Halloween. My mom used to do that every year on our front porch.
Oh man, she used to do the best Halloween decorations. Your house looked the awesome.
Halloween queen. Yes. Dry ice everywhere. It was amazing.
Like human-sized skeletons hanging from the trees and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not at all terrifying.
Yep. Absolutely and like terrifying. We wonder why I'm into crime and dark things, and we don't have to look very far. Anyways, so as they're about to investigate further, Redbeard, they actually see Redbeard in the doorway, and they're like, "Oh shit." And he slams the door shut and locks it from the other side.
Oh, God.
So, so now they're like fully locked into this cabin.
Oh, boy.
Yep. Not
be terrifying.
Looking good for them. So on the other side, Shaggy and Scooby are able to use funny distractions to actually escape their captors and run for it. Although they are still on the middle of a ship in the middle of the ocean. So I'm not sure where they're going to go. They also don't know how to man or steer a pirate ship, I have to assume.
Quick learners.
But anyways, exactly. They do realize
if this random spirit that's guiding it now can do it, then so can
we. Can do it, damn it. So, they are smart in realizing all of this and realize their best bet is to kind of like, art of distraction and throw them off the trail. And so Shaggy kind of just finds like, this piece of paper on like a desk in like one of the cabins and folds it up into a pirate's hat, and he uses shadows and ventriloquism, which we know Shaggy is good at, because the other pirates, village people pirates, are coming around the corner. And so he uses shadows and deception to sound like Redbeard and order them around to a different part of the ship, which works. Like they are like, you got it, Captain, and they go the other direction.
Me.
Yeah. And so, Shaggy and Scooby are like, okay, well, we just got to lay low, I guess, until we get to shore. So they hop into a barrel and are, again, barrels, and are like, okay, let's like move this barrel a little bit so we can like hide in the corner. But instead of physically moving the barrel on the outside to somewhere else, they get in the barrel and then move, which leads them to walk themselves right off the plank in said barrel. And as soon as they splash into the water, the ghost pirate ship starts to head in another direction towards its real destination. So Shaggy and Scooby are sitting there like using like broken pieces of wood somehow, I guess, from their destroyed ship to like paddle after them. They know their friends are still on it. They're like, oh shit, we got to at least get our friends back. Yeah. And so we quickly learn that the ship is headed towards its real destination for the evening, the secret cove at Skull Island.
Oh, goodness.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Which, as you can imagine, is named as such because it looks like, you guessed it, a giant skull. It was actually like pretty cool. Like the mouth of it is the cave entrance. It's all like jungly on the side. Like it's a pretty cool island. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. I'm thinking now, I know I mentioned a couple episodes back. Well, I don't know if we kept that part in the episode or not, but how much I love King Kong movie or Godzilla movies. And yes, King Kong is from Skull Island. Yep. So I'm like, oh shit, these teens do not know what they're about to get into some fights with some ginormous prehistoric type creatures that are coming from the center of the earth on the Skull Island anyway.
International waters, anything can happen.
Anything goes.
At this point.
Anything goes.
Yep. So this brings us to step 4 of the investigation. Be resourceful. So again, Shaggy and Scooby already being resourceful. By the way, they're paddling. Yep. With all their might. And they're able to sneak in behind the ship undetected. And while they're doing that, it takes them a little longer to get there. Obviously, they're on an enormous pirate ship. Velma, Daphne, and Fred are led off the ship, I assume blindfolded, and are led like deeper into this like winding labyrinth of a cave. And they stand fully chained together. I will say at first, my first watch of this, because I watched them multiple times, I thought they were like just chained by their hands and they could just like run away at any time. And I was like, this is hilarious. This is dumb. What is happening? But I noticed on the second watch through that the chains are then chained onto the cave wall. So like they are actually kind of fully secured on there.
And absolutely terrifying.
Yes. And it got like from like, haha, they could just run away to like, oh fuck. And then it got doubly terrifying. Yeah. Because then Redbeard did the same. I'm going to slit your throat as he tells them, you're going to join my crew, which again, as a ghost crew and the slitting of the throats, they are now chained in international water. I guess let's go small to big. They are chained in a cave, in a labyrinth of caves, on a place called Skull Island that they got to on a pirate ghost ship in international waters where their parents don't know where they are, probably.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, do their parents even know that they took this mission?
Probably not.
I guess this mission. Do you accept this mission, Mr. Ink?
Yeah, you have no choice, you're doing it.
I guess maybe besides in our embellished version of the story, besides Daphne's parents, they have no clue. No one knows that their kids are there besides the Blakes.
Yep, exactly. And apparently no one's been able to track down this pirate ship to begin with, so they ain't gonna be found.
Yeah, even if you do know where they are, you have no idea
where Skull Island is. Yeah, so your international waters, there are thousands upon thousands of random islands everywhere in the ocean. We know less about this. Just add to your fear of the ocean. We know less about our ocean than we do space.
Exactly.
So like sit with that for a little bit, I guess.
You're never gonna find them.
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess Redbeard needs to go get like the implements of murder ready or something like that. So he leaves. And luckily Fred is apparently extremely resourceful because I don't know, I guess from his pocket he pulls a stack of straws and he sticks them on top of the other. And then I guess he was
from the malt shop earlier.
Oh, you know what? Is Fred a kleptomaniac?
It's like as the rest of the group is like leaving the malt shop. He's like, yeah, I'll be right there. Steals a bunch of straws and like stuffs them in his sweatshirt. Like straws of all things to steal.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I guess this confirms it though. Like Fred is a little klepto. Because it's not just like here's one straw. It's like a stack of straws.
What?
Yeah.
Were they wrapped? Were they like just like a literal just like open?
Unclear. I guess, or he would just unwrap them on the spot, but then he would just have like a pile of the wrappers, which is not very sneaky of how you escape.
Yeah, like a trail of trash behind you.
Exactly.
I think they went that way.
Yep, I would assume so. So either way,
Anyway.
little klepto Fred, stacks all the straws like one on top of the other. He apparently was chewing gum because then he uses it on like one end of his straw tower and uses the stickiness of the gum to like on a desk that we now see that has a set of keys on it that they can't reach because they're attached to the wall. He uses the straws as like a stick and reaches the keys with the gum until it like sticks on and then just brings it back to himself. Resourceful as heck, I would say.
He fit a lot of straws into his pocket.
Yes, there were legitimately a lot of straws. So they get free immediately. They run, but they kind of get lost in the cave system. But, who else should be lost in this cave system but good old Shaggy and Scooby, who were there to rescue them. But instead of saying like, hey, thanks for coming to rescue us, actually, of note from your last episode, which if y'all haven't heard yet, go back and listen and come back to this episode. The gang is kind of mean sometimes because Shaggy this whole time is still wearing his like paper hat that he wore. And I think he's
probably so proud of it. Yeah.
I think it was Velma actually who yelled at Shaggy in the last episode, who's like, Shaggy, get that weird hat off your head. Why are you wearing that?
Starting to realize she's not that nice.
Yeah. So she says it like very meanly. And then I think when he hands it to her, and I think she plays it off as if she wasn't being mean because she sees something on the other side of the hat that I think she's like, I saw that. I wanted to check it out. But I think she was just
no, the hat's cool and all. But there's a clue on it.
Yep, exactly. So, like I mentioned, back to the clues, which is our step 5, or regressing to our other earlier step 3, because this piece of origami hat is actually a really major clue. Oh. So what Shaggy unknowingly snagged from that cabin on the pirate ship was the entire, like, I don't know what to call it, like a work plan or like upcoming log and schedule of the freight ships, including the schedule of that night and the value of all of the goods on each ship. So, so basically they realized this is how...
Shaggy didn't notice any of this information while he was folding it? Okay.
Nope. He folded it very quickly. He probably didn't even need to look at it while he's folding it.
No, exactly.
Also very good at origami, I guess. Ventriloquism, gymnastics, origami. Shaggy does it all, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Yes, exactly. So this is how Redbeard, they deduce, has been able to plan his pirating adventures, is because he has had access to everything that the targets have been up to. He knows when they're coming, whether they're a worthwhile target or not, because he knows the value of the goods on the ship. So it's time to find a way out there. Like, they read this sheet and they're like, okay, great. We're still stuck in a cavern with like this straight up murderous pirate that could be on our trail at any second, maybe because of the trash trail of straws Fred left. So they apparently literally just look around for an exit, and they didn't realize it earlier. Their eyes peel back a little more because they find their next clue and hopefully an exit. Because in the dirt and sand, I guess, of this cave are tire tracks. So, they get Scooby, the hound dog, on the case to follow the scent and the tracks for them until they abruptly end at a treasure chest on brand. Pirate episode.
The tire tracks just end at the treasure.
Yep. Okay. They literally just stop. So the chest bursts open and like this skeleton, it's like very weird. It's like just like the like the spine bones and like skull. There's no like there's no like rib cage or rest of the arms and stuff. It's just like the spine and skull with like a little piratey bandana on it. Again, very fashion cute.
So it's like a Jack in the Box essentially. Yes.
Yep, exactly.
A skeleton Jack in the Box.
Yep. So it springs forth and asks
That's
for...
also like absolutely traumatically terrifying, by the way.
Yeah, that you're just like, focus, tire tracks, and it ends. Holy shit.
In your face.
Skeleton.
Like armless, legless, limbless, whatever skeleton.
Yes,
anyway,
exactly.
oof.
And that's speaking to you, asking for a password.
It's talking.
Yes.
Okay.
So where did the tire tracks come from? Who was driving? Why did they descend into this treasure chest?
Is there a car on an island in the middle of the ocean?
Yep. Yeah. How did that get there? Why is the skeleton ghost thing asking for a password?
Yeah.
So the gang decides
questions.
to just try different pirate catchphrases that they know. Some of which are 16 men on a pirate's chest. I don't know what that one means. Yo ho ho, blow the man down. I've never really heard of that exact one.
I don't know.
And then for some reason, Shaggy says, yum, 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 and a liverwurst a la mode. And then behind the treasure chest, a door opens.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know a lot about pirate terminology, but I am not, well, no, I'm not going to make any bold claims anymore. Whatever. There's no point.
But yeah, I agree. I don't think any of that is a pirate's phrase. I think he was just hungry. Why would they have liverwurst?
Of the three phrases they said, that one seems to me to be the least piratey.
Yes.
But, oh well.
Which I guess works. Makes it a good password.
Exactly. I was gonna say, maybe that was the point.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, how Shaggy happened to know the exact words.
Yeah. Including adding on a la mode at the end.
saying yum the perfect note. Yum, yum, yum like 3 times. Yep. Wow. It wasn't just yum in liverwurst.
Yum, yum, yum. Liverwurst. A la mode.
Shaggy, he knows all this stuff. He's good.
Yep, exactly. So this cave wall behind them just suddenly opens. It's basically like a voice activated like garage door, more or less. Velma, as they then look at the skeleton thing, we're like, oh, there's just a voice box in there. So behind the wall that they do see the tire tracks continue into, because they thought they just stopped at the treasure chest, but it was just blocked off because of the wall there that they couldn't see anymore. So behind the wall is an even bigger, enormous cavern whose walls and floor is absolutely lined with shipping crates and containers and goods. And so this wasn't the most obvious clue in the world that, this is where all the goods are going to, and we're confirming our suspicions, is that they actually see Redbeard and the 2 pirates loading some crates onto a truck near an exit of the cavern. Okay. And they're like, oh shit, they got loose, uh-oh. So Redbeard hits a garage door button somewhere, I guess, and shuts the door behind them. Pardon me, so that everyone is now trapped in here. Oh God. I will say a very weird chase ensues that I would like to describe certain aspects of.
Okay, please. Yes.
So first and foremost, the ghost sword reappears to chase down and slice at Shaggy and Scooby.
You see it fly out of the ship and navigating through the cave. Yeah.
I feel like that's what happens for some reason, in Aladdin with the carpet or something. Yeah. It's starting to slash at Scooby and Shaggy, and they jump into this closet thing, and it's stabbing in, and it reminds me of the suicide booth from Futurama.
Yes.
Getting stabbed at.
How would you like to die?
Yeah, exactly.
You are now dead.
You are now dead. Thank you. And apparently everyone hit the jackpot of what was the most recently opened shipping container, because they open up the lid, or Velma, Fred, and Daphne do, and it's a shipping container full of prank weapons. So for example, Velma, Daphne, and Fred have bow and arrows, but instead of an actual arrow, it's a toilet plunger that they're shooting at the henchman pirates, which I think actually can be helpful. I was gonna say it worked. Hawkeye, if you watch Hawkeye on Disney Plus, I'm not. He had a plunger arrow, and it came in clutch when he needed it. Let me tell you. I mean, maybe they were inspired by this. Yeah. And then Shaggy tries to threaten Redbeard with this gun, but it's an egg beater at the end of it, and stand mixer, I guess. And then he grabs the skillets. Yeah. Well, and then in another flashback moment that you'll soon realize in a second, Shaggy and Scooby grab, because they're like, Redbeard is now trying to stab at us. Let's distance ourselves. And he goes, Scooby, come on to this automatic pogo stick with me. And it turns out it's just a jackhammer. not like an automatic pogo stick. It's like a straight up a jackhammer, which like goes back to our second episode in which Shaggy and Scooby worked on a construction site with no supervision.
No more power tools for those two. Fred, maybe, but Shaggy and Scooby, no.
Yep, exactly. So anyways, through a series of clambering in and around all of the cargo, they're able to trip Redbeard, who topples into just a giant pile of tires that I guess were in one of the crates too. I mean, you gotta ship shit, so like whatever. No wonder it's eclectic. So who is behind that bushy red clashing beard?
Ah, yes.
As per usual, let's review our clues and cast of characters.
Yeah.
So as for the clues, we really don't have all that many. I will say we've got this weird floating sword ghost thing. We've got multiple buckets of dry ice, and we have the schedule of this shipping company's freight ships. Yeah. As for our characters here, we have the captain, who kind of makes menial pay and a job he promised would be safe. You know, he wanted to get out of the Navy, and then he got bugging attacked by pirates. And he's our only eyewitness to the ghost. We have the butler, who's protective of Magnus and is kind of an all-around creep. And we have Magnus, who owns the freight ships that keep getting attacked. Who do you think it is?
I'm gonna say that it is the captain.
Ooh, what's the theory?
I don't know. Magnus he would just be tanking his own company, right? Because
he would be, and he is. It is indeed Magnus.
Okay. You see, I try to be reasonable.
Not with this, baby.
Then I have to remember Scooby-Doo is never reasonable.
Yep. So we learn once, I think it's the Coast Guard arrives is who they call in this case. Again? I think they call the Coast Guard.
Oh, Coast Guard. Gotcha.
Yeah. To come.
Who's Coast? They're so far away.
I don't know. That's why I say I think they called the Ghost Guard.
Okay, yeah.
Unclear. Also,
someone came in a boat.
How they called them, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Although they're on an island in a pirate ship. This is the late 60s, early 70s. There's no cell phone.
They don't use phones. What are those things they use? Like the
little, beep, 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 beep. Oh yeah.
It's like, I guess you like
Morse code like telegram.
Over it. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they had a radio in the truck or something.
Fred knows Morse code, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Oh gosh, tell me why Magnus was tanking his own company.
Yeah, similar to your episode last time, I had to do a little bit of speculation. I will say really quick though, that least we forget there are also two other pirates.
Yeah.
They also catch, who Daphne literally, when like the Coast Guard is there, she's just like, oh, they're just hired henchmen. So like
we don't care about them. They're you don't need to ID them.
Yeah, they're good. Let them go free. It's fine. They're hired nameless henchmen.
They're hired henchmen.
Yeah,
they were coerced into this. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So why is Magnus fake robbing his own ships?
Yeah.
Insurance scam situation, I think. Yep, a classic move. So here's what I have deduced. So Magnus came from money. Like, again, his family for the last 300 years has been money. But like some spoiled rich kids, he doesn't know how to manage it himself. Mm-hmm. So he's mismanaging it. The family shipping business is passed down to him, and he's like running it into the ground without even batting an eye. For example, he had a gold plate with his name on it outside of his penthouse.
Yeah. You don't need that.
Yeah, but he couldn't lose his company and thus all of his money. So he needed an accident to happen to his ships. Mm-hmm. But he saw kind of like a double whammy opportunity, two birds, one stone situation. Accident happened to his ships for insurance scam. Yeah. And let's get all of the cargo and go sell it in another classic black market Scooby-Doo scam situation. So again, getting money on both ends of this operation. So again, for like some of these weird clues, the floating sword was like somehow on strings, which I guess is attached to the fact that there was a bunch of like prank toys in one of the crates.
It was attached to strings in the boat and in the cave.
Yeah.
The ship and the cave. Okay.
Somehow the dry ice created
Magnus
the fog.
is smart.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess he's good at like making. He's like good. He's smart in the Home Alone sense, but not in the running a multi-billion-dollar corporation sense, I guess.
Kevin McAllister, Magnus.
Yep, exactly. So the dry ice created the fog. Again, the other two dudes were just there for like a cut of the treasure.
Hired henchmen.
Yep, exactly.
Nothing to see here.
In similar to my last story with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Magnus decided to lean on the legend of his family that included the legend of Redbeard, those ties to his family line, posed as a pirate, stole his own goods from the ships, got to claim that insurance and sell that shit off, left, right, and center. Magnus is running the show, hoping that sticking in international waters would give him even more cover, but not when Scooby and the gang are around.
No, you can't. Yep. You can't escape them.
Yep. Nowhere to hide. The end.
The end.
The journey.
And the Coast Guard swooped him up. Swooped all three of them up, I hope.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unclear.
Kids, don't get involved in insurance fraud.
Don't get involved in insurance fraud. Don't get involved in piracy. Don't get involved in like
kidnapping, I guess. Yeah.
In like international versions of any of these things. It gets even messier once you throw in, as you saw at the beginning. Don't think just because we said does international law exist or not exist that like it means you can just go ahead and do whatever you want with it. We need more people to be tuning in. So
who should they tell?
No, who should they tell?
I asked you first.
You.
No. All right. Well, I wasn't ready for this today. Let's see. Go to, or maybe not today, but sometime in the next few days. I think there's some good movies coming out soon. If you're comfortable with getting back out there and going to the theater, stop and maybe like split some popcorn with your friends that you go with, because that shit can be expensive. But tell the person working at the popcorn, the concession stand. You know, they might be interested. People who work at theaters are usually pretty cool, have, a lot of pop culture interests. So I think they'd like this podcast. So tell them.
I love that. Sometimes, and I never did this until I started dating Justin, but where we live, back when we lived in Utah, there's this movie theater by our house that we would just go and like walk in and buy the popcorn and bring it home. And like, it was so fucking good.
Popcorn theater it's like so different.
Because it would be like Tuesdays would be like $3 popcorn or something like that. So
and it's like already empty there.
Yep, exactly.
Which side note, I actually love going to the movie theater on like Tuesdays or whatever because it is so empty. Yeah, but anyway.
100%.
So who should they tell?
So I think after you get your popcorn, as you're heading to the theater, the person who has to like rip the tickets, like they are so fucking bored just standing there waiting for your like content viewing booty to get in there. So tell them about this podcast/vodcast. So while they're standing there waiting for teens skipping class on a Tuesday to go see a movie, they can have something to entertain themselves. And I think they would appreciate that.
Pop in a headphone while they're working and keep scanning tickets as they go.
Little wireless situation so they can hide it. Like Bird has. Perfect. All right. Well, next week will be our, for now, final Scooby-Doo episode. And then we'll be moving on to a different cartoon. So we'll see y'all then.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on. So just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.